Hello everyone. Hello. I think we're a little bit behind schedule, so I'm just going to start my talk immediately. In case anybody doesn't know me, I'm Ruan Rothman. I work at Free Lives on a game called Broforce. Does everybody know Broforce? Nobody in South Africa knows about Broforce. It's okay. It's this game. It's about America, explosions, killing terrorists, and liberation. And we've been on early access now for a while. And I thought I would share some of our experiences and lessons that we learned from early access. So yeah, why we did early access, how we're going about it, and things that we've learned so far. So I got an email from somebody wanting to do an interview about early access, and he asked me the question, as you can see, how much important decisions came from player feedback and how much came from the team. This was a pretty interesting question because I've realized we generally don't take ownership of ideas, except for the propane tanks, which were totally my idea. But in general, like, to me, it's not even sensible to make a distinction about whether an idea in Broforce came from the players or from the team. Everything that we do is us looking at people interacting with the game and playing with the game and thinking, well, this is something that they enjoyed, this is something we should give them more of, this is something that's not working, this is something that shouldn't be in the game. There's no idea that comes purely from the team because it's all based on how players interact with the game. And this is something that we're a strong believer in, is open development. Does everybody know what open development means? As opposed to developing your game in secret, open development means you always have a playable version of your game, and you try and encourage people to play your game as early on and as much as you can, and you interact with those players. As Rami says, a game is not a game until there is a player interacting with it. So I also believe that quote, and if you believe that, then why would you ever develop your game without having players play? Was it JW?
Yeah.
Rami, I actually asked Rami about the quote before, and he said, yeah, that's totally my quote. So, there you have it. So, in this way, it doesn't make sense to develop a game without the most important component. Because how would you know if a player interacts? The second part of this is that as a creator, you have a very specific perspective on the way your game works. You're a very subjective perspective on how your game works. You make something, and because you understand the decision that went into creating this object, you have an expectation with how a person will interact with it. When a player sees your game, they don't have the background information, and they have their own way of perceiving it, and they will interact with it in a different way than you have envisioned. There's a second reason why you have to put it in front of players, so you can see how they will actually interact it. Now, for us, I was going to do a part about Broforce development history, but it was like pretty boring. But since the very first version of Broforce, which was made in April 2012, we've been developing it openly. There's always been a version of Broforce that anybody can play. It used to be free, then it went onto the Humble Store in early access, and we're on Steam early access now. And if you believe in open development and you want to develop your game openly, then Steam Early Access is just the next logical step, which kind of filters into why we went onto early access. So another thing, this is just YouTube results for videos about Broforce. It's about 225,000, but I think for Broforce, but I think there are other videos with the name Broforce in it that aren't about our game. So I searched Expendables as well. Expendables is a free version of Broforce that serves as a demo. So as you can see, there's 107,000 just of those, and it's been out for only a couple of months. The videos go up faster than you can watch them, literally. And a very small percentage of those videos are actually high-quality YouTube, well-known YouTubers. The vast majority is just some kid who wants to be a YouTuber, who's filming his his monitor with a camera and uploading his gameplay. And those videos are actually really useful as a developer because it's generally not a skilled player. It's not somebody that's playing the game to show. It's not somebody that's even played the game before. Like, I've seen people who literally just start the game up for the first time and record themselves playing. Being able to watch somebody play the game over their shoulder and see their interactions completely unfiltered is very useful in open development process. Even if you take a game to an expo like a Maze or Gamescom, etc., If you're standing and you're watching the player play over his shoulder, you have a slight effect on how they play. They generally try harder. And I feel some of the really bad YouTubers don't do that. They just go ahead and don't even know what the controls are or anything when they start. And this is really useful feedback, as that tells you how a general player will interact with the game for the first time. Another thing that early access answers you is early in your development process, you will know what their reaction is to your game. This allows you to adapt your budget and scope to what the reception for your game will be, so that you do not under or over budget for your game. For us, Broforce has done really well in early access, and it has allowed us to expand our team and hire a chef and get a house and come to things like a maze, which we otherwise would not have been able to do. Because I know this is a maze, a lot of people are saying, well, they're not in it for the money. I agree with that sentiment, but I like money as well. I like coming to a maze, I like meeting people, I like not worrying about debt. And early access allows you to make an income from the game while you're still developing it. And again, adjust your team and budget to the success of your game. Another thing is that publications are hesitant to do reviews of games while they are still in early access. And that's actually a good thing, because they do previews of the game, and players will give you reviews of your game, and you will identify patterns about what's not working in your game and what is, so that you know how your game will going to be received. And you can fix these problems early on in your development cycle. Of course, we also have thousands upon thousands of people playing our game, and if they have a problem with Broforce not running on Mac, I love Macs, absolutely, they will let you know. We would never have been able to afford the quality of testing that we're getting now, essentially for free with early access. There's also another thing that you have kind of two launches. You have your launch when you go into early access the first time, and you have a launch when your game is released. And even between that time, if you do a major update, it's newsworthy. Where if you just released your game, you have one major news point. When your game goes up, when you get press one time, and then after that it's really hard to reinvigorate press interest in your game. So we haven't launched our game yet, but I have done some research, and while you would think that people would tire of hearing of your game, it does seem that games that go on final launch do get renewed interest, and often have similar sales on their full launch as they did on their early access launch. And 2 launch days, I totally covered that. But it's not all great in early access. So the dissonance that I'm referring to here is that many players, not all of them, just feel that they paid X for your game and they deserve a full game now, not understanding what early access is. As a developer, we feel that we hope that players have an understanding. This is a beta, this is an early version of a game, things are going to change. Things aren't going to quite work now, but a lot of players don't understand that, and some of them will build up resentment towards your game. And those people will often not come back to your game as well. They'll make their first and last impression on the quality of your game as it is on early access launch and never look at it again. There's also, to get the most out of open development and early access, you need to be interacting with your fans. This means tending to your social media pages, Steam forums, your own forums, responding to emails, and this is a full-time job if you want to do it properly. And it's so easy to underestimate the time and effort that goes into it, and it can also be draining if you're receiving a lot of negative feedback, which does happen with any game from time to time. You're also supporting your game while simultaneously developing it. So referring back to Max again, for some reason, Broforce crashes on startup if you're using a DualShock 3 controller. As a developer, the worst thing to me is knowing somebody paid money to play my game, but now they're unable to play it because of some bug. I feel like I shouldn't be working on new features until everybody can at least play the game. But this takes time away from putting content in your game. And of course there's update pressure. People expect you to stick to your schedule, which isn't necessarily negative. But at the same time, you need to be fixing these bugs so that people can play. But if there isn't significant new content in each update, people will also be upset about that. So indies are used to working under pressure, but now the pressure is coming from an external source as well as an internal source. So we've been pretty successful with our early access campaign. A lot of people have responded positively. I think even Total Biscuits said that for every, I can't remember, what was the terrible airplane game there was? Air Control or something?
Yeah.
He said for every Broforce, on the other side there's an air control. So we got like a sideways mention from Total Biscuit. That was kind of cool. One of the things that was important to me before we launched on early access at all is that the game on day one of early access should be worth its price tag. I feel that if you spend $15, there should be $15 worth of value in that game. So we already, although our campaign was short, it was highly polished at the time, and we had several local multiplayer modes, as well as a level editor and other things for people, so that they can get that value and not feel, even if they are the type that would just spend the money, not realize it's early access, they would still feel that they gained the value that they spent from the purchase on day one. Our game is also inherently replayable, especially with the multiplayer modes. And again, the level editor, I'm going to be talking about user-generated content a bit. And that's also worked out for us, so that people don't just play the game once, finish it, and then completely forget about it. Because you really want people to come back to your game with every update. User-generated content, again. This allows those players who want to spend 60 hours in your game and who want to interact with the game not just as a player but also as a creator to find value in your game and spend more time in your game. And you in early access, you want the person to play your game over 6 months. If you just do a launch and somebody plays your game for 6 to 10 hours and they have a great time and they forget about your game, that's fine. But it's not what you want for an early access launch. You need to maintain interest over a long period of time. And user-generated content allows that. We also, each update that we do, well, we've been trying to keep 2 monthly schedule, but we've been kind of slipping every once in a while. But keeping it regular does make fans happy. If somebody says, when is the next update coming, a fan will respond and say, well, it's usually at the end of every month, and that helps. And putting lots of content in our updates, not doing stability updates unless it can't be avoided, has helped us a lot with keeping players interested in the game. Each update is something that we build up to. I think we're doing monthly updates, which I think is a good time period to do large updates. We also have a large-ish team of about 10 people. And coordinating everybody and getting a good update out every month just seems to be the right time period. It also allows us to do teasers before the update goes out, and allows us to make every update like something worth talking about. Where if you do a weekly update, it's hard to generate excitement on a weekly basis. So part of making every update as an event is that we try to do an update video, which is something that our publisher, Devolver, has helped us with. And I wanted to show you guys one of the videos because it's more interesting than me talking. So this is our February this year update trailer. Oh, hell yeah! Freedom! New roads! Broken! Amazing features! Mega bosses! Bees! Tactical swan! On the f***ing headline! Coconuts! Online multiplayer! On all this Broforce! Thanks to the amazingly talented Jonas Turner from part of what we get out of doing an update like this is people that already spent their money on the game, and that's already like a sunk cost for them. If they see a video like this, it gets them excited about the next update, and they feel like they're basically getting all this content for free. On top of that, it makes it really easy for a news outlet to write a story about this. Because it's not just like they don't have to go sift through a changelog of what's interesting. In 1 minute, we can be like, this is what's happening this month in Broforce, and it's exciting, and people talk about it, and we get a fresh round of press every time we do this. Go to next page. Oh. I hate this laptop. So a little bit more about user-generated content as well. I'm going to let this video kind of play in the background while I talk about it. So this is a level that a guy made, and it's a Shovel Knight tribute level. So this guy completely changed how the camera works in Broforce. Usually we just track it, but he changed it so that whenever he moves to the edge of the screen, it pans along as it does in Shovel Knight. We have a triggering system in Broforce, and he completely abused that by putting enemies that continually fall to their death off screen. They spawn and they die the whole time. And he uses that as a counter because we have another trigger type that works on the amount of enemies you've killed to do timings in his level. So what he's done is he's used our tools that we've created in ways that we could never foresee, and that has fed back into giving us new ideas for creating new tools, an improved level editor, and other features that we will now be using in our campaigns. This is just one example of over 1,000 innovative user levels that have been created. So I think user-generated content fits into open development, because now you're allowing people to express themselves creatively, and you can use those ideas to improve your game while you are still in development. If we'd only made these tools available after launch, we would not have been seeing what the typical use cases are that people want from our level editor, and we would not have been able to incorporate those improvements while we are developing the game. So this goes on for quite a few levels. So this is the timing where he spawns the guys that fall to their death off screen. It's pretty embarrassing that he had to hack the level editor that badly to do something so basic, but now I know this is something that people want to use, and it will be in the level editor going forward. While it's playing, I might as well go talk about user-generated content. Another thing is this guy enjoys making levels in Broforce more than he does playing levels. So this is a whole new market of people that we can sell our game to that we otherwise wouldn't have if we didn't have user-generated content. If your game could in any way support user-generated content and you can have people create stuff, please do it. It's been highly rewarding, and it's really been a massive bonus to developing Broforce. Okay, now I need to find Windows 8 again.
Did he actually, did he just dub the music over, or did he actually manage to change the music over?
No, I think he just dubbed it over. So, this slide's kind of been spoiled now, whatever. If you want to put your game on early access, there are a few basic questions you should ask yourself first. First of all, obviously, you can't have a story-based game. If you have an adventure, point-and-click-based story game, it's not going to work for early access. It's something that has to inherently be replayable. That's why roguelikes work so well on early access. Generally, roguelikes are perfect for early access. I also think, like I've said before, people need to feel that they're getting the value of their purchase on day one. So whatever you choose as your price tag, there should be that amount of value for your game on day one. Your game needs to be not only replayable, but replayable for the next 6 to 12 months, depending on how long you foresee your early access program is going to be, so that people don't lose interest and forget about your game. Because these people that are going to be playing your game for hundreds of hours while you're in early access are your advocates. They're not just fans, they're people who will go out and continually tell people to try your game. They get excited about it for every update and keep pushing for it. And it's really nice to have people be on your side, to have fans be on your side and developing the game with you, literally. And of course, As I've mentioned, there's a support and communication overhead, and you need to have the extra manpower available to handle that. So the last point, I want to talk about like who I think is doing early access really right. So I asked our artist for a picture of Rami that would fit the caption, what would Rami do, like, but maybe like more Che Guevara or something, and he gave me this. I don't get it at all. You know, so we actually, we've been joking about what would Rami do a lot. And I think Nuclear Throne's early access program right now is probably the best one there is. So what are they doing that is so amazing? First of all, they're charging extra for early access. I think they're charging $12.50 for early access, and the game will be $10 on launch. What this does is it only makes people that are interested in the development of the game buy early access. People who are impatient and just want to play the game are just like, oh well, I'll wait for it to go on sale, I'll wait for it to be finished, and then I'm going to buy it. Because you don't want those people to buy into your early access program, because they're the people who play it and forget about it. They're the people that complain about this bug and give you negative reviews. And just generally not the people you want in your early access program. Another thing that they're doing correctly is they have extreme levels of interaction with their players. They're live streaming development about every Thursday, I believe it is. And while that's going, they're talking to their players, like literally having a conversation. Unfortunately, being in South Africa, our internet can't handle streaming, so it's not an option for us. But if that is something you can do, I think it's just great. It's called, I think they're calling it performative development. I mean, Yukio, you did that, right? And I think if you can do it, you should do it. I mean, it really adds so much value for the people who are interested in seeing the game grow, because those are the people you want in your early access program. They're also not putting their game on sale. We've put Broforce at a slight discount once or twice while we've been on early access, and I'm not sure it's been a total mistake, but I don't think it's quite been the correct thing to do, because the people who buy your game on sale, or the people who are only half interested, it's the people who only want to play your game once and who will be disappointed because your game is still in early access and under development. And we usually get a round of negative feedback and bad reviews after the game has been on sale, which isn't the worst, but you know, if those people had waited till the game was finished, I don't think they would have been disappointed. So finally, almost done, open development is a shit. Develop your games openly. There are so many reasons to develop openly and so few not to do it. The player is a part of your game. Don't develop the game without them. If I could, from South Africa, stream development of our game, I might also try and do it like maybe once every 2 weeks. I think the once every week thing is stressful for them, but we also have a larger team, so it might be easy. People are interested in seeing how games develop. More people than ever want to become indie developers, and they are watching the people who they see to be successful to learn from them. And being able to teach them while developing your game and gaining fans just seems to be like one of the best things you can do right now as an indie developer. And yeah, finally, I think if you have the right game, if you have the right team, and early access is an option, I don't see a reason not to do it right now. Even if you don't like it. People are fatiguing of early access. Players are getting over it, but that just means that the people who aren't really interested in early access, who just want to play your games, are the ones who are not going to buy it. So that's it. Thanks for listening.
This is not a question, but we do, with Nuclear Throne, we do 2 times a week, the developments too.
Two times a week, live stream. Yeah, it's rough.
It's really stressful.
Divided by like 6 people?
Yeah.
Stream?
Yeah.
So you would do one every 3 weeks or so. In the back?
There's the need for regular updates, of course, you can push up content that you're exactly happy with for using the Steam.
Yeah, it's something that I don't really like doing, but it is something that we were forced to do when we were working on Expendables. We did a tie-in with Expendables 3, and we had some content that we did before that we were saving so we could have an update while we were secretly working on Expendables. Unfortunately, we accidentally still put half the content in the game, and people discovered it early, but you know. So there was one bro that was in 2 updates. Danny?
Just also as a thing, when you're doing a regular update schedule and you are doing weekly, don't do it on Mondays. Because then you lose your weekends.
Oh yeah, this is what's better, doing it on Fridays. Yeah, weekends.
And then you only lose your weekend if you're late.
Well, I've never seen an update go out on time ever. So.
My question, open development is great stuff for Broforce or Richard Brothers because it's replayable, but stuff like puzzle games or like story-based games or like stuff like Antichamber. I mean, Antichamber you do to open development.
So I think even if you can't put your game for free online, you should still take an active effort in having people play it as much as you can while you're going on. Whether that means bringing it to a maze and having them play it here. The second thing is that there's an infinitely big market for indie games right now because the market is growing so fast. If you just put a free demo of the game on your website, everybody isn't going to play it, and the feedback you receive as you develop will still be relevant. But don't put it on Steam Early Access then, because that's when you will saturate. Sons?
Yeah, for Antichamber, Alexander Bruce went to every single event that allows you to show games and show the game basically personally to the players. It was like an open development.
Yeah.
That's why monkeys around.
Yeah, I think it's just as important. No matter what kind of game you have, always have people playing it.
How do you feel about developing another game while you've got one in early access? Because a while back, the developers of Rust, who had the game in early access, they said they were starting a new project. And like people were saying, so what's going to happen with Rust? Data and still in development on it, and like gave them a lot of negative press just because they said they were starting to use it.
Well, people do tend to overreact a lot, and I think that was a reaction to Rust. I think Rust has about 20 team members, so if 2 or 3 of them are working on a different project, I don't think it's as big a deal. We do game jam games while we're working on Broforce. We're not starting another commercial product, but as a creator, it's always healthy to be working on or to have like side projects as well. So I think it's something you should continue doing. Our team isn't big enough to support 2 commercial products, so it's not something we would do. But if your team is of a sufficient size and you're in the polished phase of your product, I don't see anything wrong with it. But it varies from team to team.
I just wanted to know about like pricing, how you do your pricing, because you showed like Media Third has charged more for early access, and then they're going to charge less when they actually release the game. So how do you determine your price? Do you charge like, could you also do like a bit less on early access so that because you know you don't have all the content you're going to have, and then have it more when you release it, or is it that you're just how would you do it?
So the reason why they can and do charge early for Nuclear Throat is because they're able to give extra value to people buying the game now. So if you can add extra value to people paying more for early access, which is kind of the whole point, you want people who are interested in the development process, people who want to have input in the game, and people who want to see the game grow, then you should charge more for it. We're charging exactly what our launch price is going to be. I don't think you should ever be charging less, because then you're just going to get people who just want to see the game buying it right now, and not people who are interested in the development of your game. But it's a personal opinion thing. Danny?
We did a slightly differently with this with Dungeons, but also we interacted with players a whole lot. The full game is out for $15, and then the early access price was 10. But we only ran that from our side, so it wasn't the huge numbers that Steve was sending us. It was literally just helping us fund development, also helping us balance the game. But we added a secondary thing, which was like support the developers, because the people who are finding a game on your website are so engaged that they're probably going to want to help you out. We did a support the developers thing for $20, which is twice the price of the game. More than half the people who bought the game while it was in early access paid the extra amount. So because we built the game that way, or because we built that pricing option in, people were willing to support us because they enjoyed playing it so much because it was so replayable. We also had to actually build an option for people to upgrade their order. So people who bought the game at the lower price, played it so much, they were like, I want to give you guys more money because this is really good. So never, ever, ever do a thing where you can't take more money from people if they're willing to give it.
Yeah. Okay, final point, you don't have to only do early access on Steam. We had a humble widget on our webpage, and like Danny said, you get the best fans, you get the most dedicated people there, and we had enough money then, making enough money from that to support our development. Okay, thanks everybody.